Welcome back, everybody. Great to have you with us. This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us. Back with us on the program, author Robert Maxxim. The author has spent 40 years studying science, religion, the science of life, presented by Dr. Ernest Norman, validating his vision starting on July 13th, 1973. Robert proceeded to confirm his sightings and experiences with other established sources, such as George Adamski, personally met brothers from other worlds that helped instruct him over the years. The book series is the culmination of such visionary and confirmation efforts written in novel form. It's the Legacy series that we'll be talking about. Robert lives and works in Illinois, working in the field of information technology and science of life mentoring. It's a fascinating story. We've had Robert on several programs. If you go to thisweekinamerica.us, go to the archives, go to iTunes and to YouTube, you'll be able to see the programs. I suggest YouTube because we've got some great visuals that Robert has been kind enough to show us, and we'll have some on the program today. Robert, welcome back once again. So much more to talk about. It is great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Rick. Pleasure to be back on the show, as always.
It is always fun to have a chance to talk with you, and we get great audience response. And I'd like to start off and people can go to the archives and sort of get caught up where we are with everything. But let's go back to July of 1973, where this all began, because really this was sort of the impetus for the rest of your life, wasn't it?
This was a big turning point for me. I was a concert pianist. And I had just come into view of life on other worlds. I was actually peeking out of the window, and I saw a couple of what people call flying saucers. So I dashed right out of the house with the telescope, start watching these craft buzzing by the house, get very sleepy, don't know how I made it to bed, and watching the clock. Just a couple of seconds before 10 o'clock, I go out. Then I have this fantastic vision. I'm told I'm going to be back in 2 hours. I take this huge tour, what appeared to be 100 years living on this spiritual world, come back with all this information. Precisely 2 hours pass. I continue to have experiences one after another to another. I was a concert pianist. I had no idea what I've been taught.
Yes.
But thanks to the works that you have mentioned, I was able to come up to speed, understand, sort it out, and began to write the Legacy series, which I consider a must-read for any truth seeker. The works of Dr. Norman were absolutely key in making all these breakthroughs. As a matter of fact, there is a community of students of Dr. Norman. Your listeners can go to unariusunited.com, and they will find fantastic stories, also at the same level of mine.
Robert Maxxim, that's Maxxim, our guest on This Week in America. The book is the Legacy series. The website to get information is rgayton, that's GAETAN.com, rgayton.com. You can link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. The book's available all across the country. That sort of sets the groundwork. How long did it take you after that first experience where you realized this was really something special that was happening to you? I'm assuming in the beginning maybe there was even fear as to what was happening. When did you come to peace with, and maybe you still haven't come to peace with what's happening, and realizing that you're really experiencing something that most of us will never be able to do?
You know, I'm still trying to piece things together. Concepts of energy. Being in these other worlds is unlike anything you have ever seen before. Things appear material, but yet they are pure energy. And you look at a wall, and the wall is just energy, but it feels solid. And according to what's in your mind may change, may alter the shape of things. It's like a creative environment. You live at the speed of thought. You don't walk, you don't get in a car and drive to the store. I mean, such things don't exist. But you think, I'm going to go to the lake, bam, you're there. I'm going to go to the temple, bam, you're there. I'm going to walk by the flower garden, you're there. And you're experiencing these things that quickly. Your thought is now your life. And it's no dream. It's very active, it's very interactive with the environment. The beings, as far as I know, they look just like you and me, if not prettier. They certainly have more hair than I do.
Well, yeah, I can relate to that, and I hope they look better than I do, or somebody would want their money back. We're talking about the Legacy series of books with the author Robert Maxxim, Maxxim. The website is rgaetan, GAETAN.com, and you can link on directly at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You mentioned dreams. As I recall in talking, this was not just where you would lay down, close your eyes, and dream, and maybe you could write these off as a dream, nightmare, that type of thing. These visions, what will come to you, came to you at all hours.
At all hours, during the waking state, during the evening. And I grew up in the 70s, in early 80s, and it was a time when if you talked about any of this, you were considered kind of off the charts.
Yes.
This certainly makes some great professional recommendations to have you taken care of. But going back to the first experience I had back in 1973, what was most shocking to me is that when I woke up at exactly those 2 hours, of course, I jumped out of bed and like, where am I? I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be over there. I want to go back. But what was curious is at the front of my bed, as live as I could touch them, they were there. The same people I had seen, they were there. They were still talking to me mentally, and slowly fading away. And expressing their love, their concepts to me, things I'll never forget. And as they were fading out, they were telling me, "You're going somewhere else now." And boom, out I go again. And this time I show up somewhere else. And this just went on for days and days and days. And one of the things that I came prepared to share with you is a different type of experience. And this is an experience that you do not pre-plan. There's no one that calls you, but this comes from your own past. It's a past reliving or past imaging of a previous lifetime. And these images just appear all of a sudden. You're not having a dream. You're not having any thoughts. And there they are. It could be happening when you're awake, when you're asleep. And this particular series that I would like to show you is actually a theme that everybody loves to hear about, Atlantis.
Well, yes, and I assume that's probably the question you get most often is, What is Atlantis like? And if you're listening on the radio, if you go to the website, thisweekinamerica.us, and go to the YouTube icon, you'll be able to see the visual, the video portion of the program where you'll actually see these excellent visuals that Robert has for us. So I'll sort of turn the video portion over to you, and you can sort of explain what we're about to see here. But before we do that, let me just ask one question. In terms of these experiences that you go through, can you control them? Can you decide, I would like now to go to Atlantis, I would like to see more, or is this something that's coming from the outside?
I am not in control at all. As a matter of fact, I become, or I relive the individual, the person I was at that time. So you could say that I am re-experiencing a memory of that time. It's in full color. I feel the temperature. I feel the water. I am talking, but I can't control what I'm talking. I understand the language. I know who I'm talking to. I understand even the year. As a matter of fact, some of the slides I'm going to show you, I'll tell you precisely where these things took place.
Interesting.
Geographically.
Let's go see. And again, as you're listening to the radio, if you go to the website, thisweekinamerica.us, we'll explain it so you'll have a sort of, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but you'll be able to see what we're talking about. And if you go to the website, you'll be able to see it specifically. Robert, tell us what we're going to see here.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start showing you pictures of Atlantis. One thing I want to make known is, Hollywood is out there, and there are a lot of pranksters out there as well. A lot of individuals do have the talent, do have the spiritual instruction to be able to see into their past. A lot of people do, but there are others that do it for wrongful reasons. And I can't tell you how many Hollywood films I have seen of drunken guards, with lances, dancing around in these temples, bulls everywhere, wine. That's not Atlantis. Was actually a school that was implemented by beings, many of them higher nature, from other and nearby worlds, to help the spiritually challenged on this world. It was actually a school.
Interesting.
It was constructed. The technology that they had, we probably can't even dream of having it for the next 1,000 years, perhaps. I will go ahead and try to explain technically as much as I can of what you're about to see, or else I will eat up several hours here.
We will do that. And again, if you're listening, This Week in America, the program, website thisweekinamerica.us, we're talking about the Legacy series written by our guest, Robert Maxxim, Maxxim. Books available all across the country. Information available at his website, rgaetan, GAETAN.com. And I just love the color. You really do need to go to YouTube and to be able to see for yourself the visuals that we're talking about. Explain what we see here, because I'm really impressed with the color of these.
Mm-hmm. This is about 28,000 BC. This is the western approach into the city of Atlantis. So we're facing east. The actual location is just east of the Lesser Antilles island of Guadeloupe. This is a canal of water. The water actually did not wet. It was specially treated. A higher isotope version or dimensional level of the water molecules. So you could actually dive into this water. You would not get wet, but it was very refreshing at the same time. You're looking at the way that individuals dressed, the power towers, and I'll have some instruction on how those worked. The power generation was not atomic. It was actually from the sun and from the atmosphere, and I'll show how that actually worked. So you could see that there were many canals, fairly much in the same spirit that Plato described. The story of Plato, of course, came from Egypt, from Sais, Egypt, through Solon, passed down to Plato, who wrote it down in Critias. But the actual construction and architecture is anything but Greek, anything but Roman. It was ultra-modern, as you will see. Now, this next slide, this would be north of what is now Puerto Rico. This is the home of the Atlantean moderator. For those who would like a little bit of trivia, the moderator at this time, 28,000 BC, is someone that I got to know very, very well through to the Unarius United site. It was actually Dr. Norman. And this is the most famous way of travel in Atlantis was through trams, and they were very fast. This place is now, of course, in the water. It's part of the Puerto Rico Trench now.
What is the time frame we're looking at here?
This would be 28,000 BC.
Wow. Okay, I'm seeing the tram and this technology that it's just mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is how I met my end in that particular life. There was a strife between the forces of good and the forces of evil. I had discovered a plot to undermine Atlantis, was discovered by the wrong side and was put to sleep and then dropped into a crevice. And I relived every second of terror of that fall. As a matter of fact, I was afraid of heights until I saw this. And I've pretty much overcome that.
That would be a frightening experience to relive. I mean, you talk about falling in a crevice. It looks like it's almost a burial situation.
Yeah, it was about a 2,000-foot drop.
Wow.
Yeah. And I relived it all the way to the bottom, to the crash. And sometimes that's what you have to do to overcome a lot of your fears. You have to relive the moment that actually caused it, turn it around positively to make advantage. It's another way of healing many physical conditions that come from actual past experiences. And now this image is a little bit later on. This is about 24,000 BC. There was a very popular figure in Atlantis called the Peacock Queen. And this would have been an area west of Guadalupe, some 15 to 20 miles west. So we're now looking west, and that would be the pyramid would have been her temple. It was a very spiritual individual that was selected out of everyone in Atlantis to represent the principles of life. So these people were very dedicated to living and appraising a positive way of living, spiritual way of living. It was taken very seriously.
Robert Maxxim, our guest on This Week in America. That's our Robert Maxxim, Maxxim is what I'm trying to say. I'm watching the video as we're going through here, just mesmerized by this. Information available at our website by linking on to thisweekinamerica.us or going to Robert's website, which is rgaetan, GAETAN.com. So back to the visuals.
Well, what you're seeing now is what was called the Hall of Witness. And every soul, every couple of months, would meet with their teachers, and you can see some of them there from various planets. These teachers would drill into you to teach you how to be honest, to help you realize past lifetimes, heal yourself, and so you would get some learning from these past experiences. You could see the blue energy on top, which is the type of pure spiritual energy that I described from these worlds that actually lived in these temples. So it was a very high, elevating experience to be there and to learn how to be honest with yourself.
So this really has been a very valuable learning experience for you, correct, in terms of dealing with who you are now?
Yes, and what I had to deal with in the past, what overcomings I have made. I am only a small portion of what you would call the soul. There's a lot more to me that I do not express in this life. There's a higher component of myself, and there are many other experiences that, of course, I dealt with at that time. I don't deal with now. Also, it will be completely overwhelming. And these were some of the teachings that were offered at the time. You overcome what you're able to, what you planned before coming to life, so that you can move on and eventually evolve into higher and higher states of spirituality.
As is often the case, the clock is moving quickly here on Earth, and it's going a lot faster than I had hoped because we wanted to cover a lot more ground. Robert, we've got a couple minutes left in the program, so I'll let you sort of summarize where we are here, and then we will pick it up at this point. So many interesting questions that we want to pursue. Go ahead and sort of summarize where you are so far in the presentation.
Well, this is the power tower. For more instructions, of course, go to my website or the book. But basically, the power tower was designed to get energy from the atmosphere and from the Van Allen belts. And all of the instructions are there. The frequencies, the amount of energy gathered, the thickness of the coils required, types of crystals. You could build one from the book itself. There's a control room inside of the tower that controlled the energy. But going back, one thing that could be done with power towers, you can see on the left slide, you could use a pair of towers to actually create a subweb underneath the earth or a control upsurge. That upsurge could create rain, could control the weather, but it could also be used for negative purposes. That plume could actually be directed to create volcanoes, for example, and that was one of the factoids towards the end of Atlantis that caused it to destroy itself. But more information on that on the book, and that's what basically destroyed it right there.
We will pick up with the story when we have Robert back in the program. The book, the series is the Legacy series, and let's just finish the program very briefly talking about that, Robert. There's really nothing else out there like the Legacy series, is there? If you think maybe I've read something sort of like that, no, you haven't. Once you read it, this takes you to a whole different world.
This is a whole different ballpark, and actually, if listeners also go to UnariusUnited.com, they will see that I'm not the only one that has seen this stuff. There are testimonials of Atlantis. There are people I have met in that website that I have had lifetime experiences with. Actually, we're all friends. So it's quite an amazing life to live. You don't skip a beat at all.
This is just amazing. Our guest on the program is Robert Maxxim. That's Maxxim. The book series we're talking about is Legacy, and the books are available all across the country. Information available at Robert's website, which is rgaetan, GAETAN.com. And you can link on directly to information on the book and information on Robert by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Robert, it is always a pleasure to have you on the program. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to continuing the story. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Rick.
You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us.